Food prices are rising again, and this time it's not just inflation, it's supply shortages. All the indicators are that in 2026 and 2027, we're going to have food shortages. So now's the time to act. Hey, Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene. And right now we are hearing about all kinds of food shortages. And what's happening is when there's global pressures on our food supply, we feel it at the grocery store. And we are not about panic. This is not a time to panic. We've been prepping forever.
Yeah.
And this is just a little blip in the road, right? This is something that we just need to deal with. But in today's video, we're going to talk about what the problem is and what we can do to make sure that we minimize the impact of it on our family directly. So again, we are not going to freak out about this, but we do need to recognize that the UN World Food Program has said that over the next couple of years, that millions of people will have food insecurity. So we need to address this. I think that's important.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the biggest drivers. Number one is geopolitical tensions. And that surprised me because there's no conflict going on in the world, is there really?
Whatever.
Actually, we all know there is.
Where is there not conflict?
Yeah, we know there is. And the most recent, of course, is the Strait of Hormuz. And that's causing a variety of impacts to us. So these tensions are there and they'll always be there to some extent. But number two is our fertilizer cost and supply. So this is really impacting especially the farmers. The cost of fertilizer is up. That means they generally can apply less fertilizer and still be okay financially. So we're going to have decreased harvests and the prices are going to go up. One of the big ones that I am tied into directly is climate extremes. And this is the U.S. Drought Monitor that's showing right now what the drought situation is. And right now, 60% of the contiguous 48 states is in some degree of drought, and a lot of it's in severe drought, extreme drought, exceptional drought. And so there is a lot of drought, probably the most in many years that we've seen in our country. So that is a huge factor. And I was at a board meeting the other night and listening to some of the farmers talk. One was a supplier of hay and one was a user of hay. And the user was asking the guy that trucks hay all over the United States, said, you know, what's the hay situation and should we be concerned? And my other friend said, yeah, we should be very concerned because there's a lot of areas around us where they're only going to get one cutting of hay where they normally get 3 or maybe even 4 cuttings of hay. So the hay is going to be very short this year, and getting that is got a lot of people just a little bit concerned. So, and then of course there's always economic and trade pressures, tariffs, all kinds of things like that. So there's a lot of drivers out there that are creating this insecurity in our food supply. So understanding that just helps us kind of put it in perspective.
So what does that mean to us? The area of concern. I don't think that that means that we're going to show up at the grocery store and there will be nothing.
No.
I think it means increased prices, intermittent shortages, maybe some lower quality, or maybe you're not going to be able to find things that you normally would be able to find, but there still should be food there. So I think that's a little bit comforting. Of course, always we want to talk about, well, what can we do? We need to be calm because we're prepared. Now, one of the things about being a prepper is that we don't put additional pressure on the system. So what we know right now is the system is being taxed. Now's not the time to buy your 1,000 pounds of wheat. Is that a good way to put it?
Sure, yeah.
But look at your storage and see if there's something that you may need to top off on. We want to build a working pantry. This means that you might have to cook more from scratch, and that's okay. But do you have rice and beans, oats, all those basic things, maybe canned goods? Freeze-dried goods are a really good thing. One of the things that's going to be in really short supply is beef. And so if you have a freeze dryer and you've been freeze drying the meats that you use, then it doesn't matter as much. But really those shelf stable things that you normally eat, don't stock up on them if you don't normally eat them. But I guess now would be a good time to kind of talk about what it looks like will be in short supply. So according to the internet, corn, wheat, and rice, and those will all be due to the high fertilizer costs, right? forcing a shift to soybeans. Well, for us, we have that kind of thing in storage. So we're doing okay. Proteins like beef and eggs. Well, we don't have a lot of beef stored, right? And one of my friends was talking about how it was $20 at the grocery store for a pound of steak. That's way out of our price range. But we have our own chickens. So the fact that eggs are going up at the store, we only feed ours a little bit of grain, so the grain cost doesn't matter as much because we can let them free range here. So we'll eat more eggs. We'll eat more of what we have available instead of knowing that beef is going to be in short supply and running out and buying everything that we can. And the beef is a huge issue because isn't it, we have less cattle than we've had since 1950?
Oh, it's been for many, many years. Yes, it's the lowest level. So
there no hay to feed them?
You know, you look at those drivers and they're driving that. It's just kind of a natural consequence of what's going on.
So you need a working pantry. Make sure that you have food in there, and it's okay if it's just the very basics. Number 2, we want to rotate our food storage. And I've actually been working on a video that we'll go through soon, but it's all on popcorn and storing popcorn and how much it's so much less expensive to buy popcorn and not use the microwave or the bagged popcorn. And so we'll have a video coming out, but know how to rotate through your food storage and use what you actually have. You save so much money when you do that.
Yes.
Number 3 is to know your numbers. Like, how much food do you really need? And considering that this is a year or maybe 2-year shortage that we're looking at right now, it would make sense to have a year or 2 of your very most basic grains, right? Typically, you're looking at 2,000 calories per person per day, or 400 pounds of grain for a year's supply. So if you had a 400 pounds of a mixture of, say, wheat and rice and oats, maybe pasta is another good one, then you know you have a year's supply. So sometimes that's a little bit easier to gauge it that way. But know your numbers, know how much you need, and then work toward getting that a little bit at a time. I mean, you don't have to, like, we've been doing this for years. So we're set, we're rotating, this is a lifestyle. If you're just starting out, just start by buying 1 for now and 1 for later. And next week, 1 for now and 1 for later. And pretty soon, you're gonna be able to build that pantry and you'll have the foods that you need. Number 4, I love this one, and it's build your living food sources.
You would expect that from Mama.
That is what we are all about. Because like our eggs, they're our living food source, our garden, and the things that we're able to produce here means that we have right out our back door a living supply of food. Now, can I produce all the calories that I need? I really can't, but I have those basics stored. I have the wheat and the rice and the calorically dense foods that can sustain us, and then you add all of the fresh things from the garden.
Yeah.
And that would be great. And that was one of the things that the fresh produce would be in short supply because of extreme weather in Mexico and Europe and crop diseases. So you're looking at oranges, which is something I'm not growing yet. I have an orange tree in my greenhouse, which you really should go over to the Provident Gardener, our sister channel, where we talk all things gardening and learn all about that. So I have a little orange tree planted, but it will be a while before it can actually produce. So that means that our family probably won't be having a lot of oranges. If they're in short supply and the price goes way up, we'll probably just put something else in its place, like all the beautiful fresh strawberries that I can grow year-round in my greenhouse. On the shortage list, it also listed olive oil and chocolate. I'm so sad about the chocolate.
Oh, that's a hard one.
Because I really haven't been able to replenish my supply because chocolate is like double the price that it was when I originally stocked up.
And we also have to look at the rate that she goes through it. So
that's not nice.
That just, between those two, it's tragic.
And so maybe it's time to break my addiction. I don't know. But if chocolate is something that you need, now is a good time to go out and get it because that one's really important. And then canned goods are actually going to be affected because of the tariffs on aluminum. So think about that. And as far as spices go, cumin and black pepper. We use a lot of cumin. So knowing that, I will probably go out and get an extra container of cumin. Am I going to buy 20 of them? No. But I'll get an extra one because we cook a lot of beans, and cumin and black pepper both are spices that we use all the time.
Yep.
So back to building our living food sources. This is just so important. If you have the ability to put a little pot anywhere and grow something in it, do it. Even if it means that it's in your kitchen window and you're growing basil. Anything that you can grow yourself, that means that you're not having to take any of the fuel for transportation because it's right outside your back door. You're not putting pressure on the supplies that other people need who can't grow it. I just can't. Like grow your own food. If at all possible, grow whatever you can.
And recognize that there is an addiction problem here. If you start with one plant, for many people, it becomes a problem because they want more and more and more. I've lived with this, and I know this lady just wants more and more plants, and
It's so
I
true.
welcome that. I welcome that addiction because it provides so much security for us, and the health and nutrition in those foods is just astounding. So much better than what you can get in the stores.
But then we also have the problem of we have a water shortage. We are in a severe drought, so we have to use water conservation methods for what we grow. And because of this crazy weather that we had, we have lost almost everything from our fruit trees. Even our apples didn't survive this year. We have no apricots, no peaches, no plums, no apples. Like I'm a little bit crushed over this. So we're feeling this even in our own garden, and yet there's so much that we can grow. This won't affect our raspberries or our blackberries. We'll still have food. It will be different food.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
We like raspberries and blackberries. Okay, number 5, and we talked a little bit about this, but learn what foods you can substitute, right? You don't have any beef? Well, and okay, eggs are also going to be in a short supply, not for us because we have our own chickens, but if you don't have beef, how about beans or lentils, or maybe you move to chicken if that's what it's available for you. Look and see what you can substitute. Don't just give up, but if you're priced out of beef, there are other things that you can use instead of beef. And number 6, skills. Learn how to cook from scratch. Learn how to garden. Work with your neighbors. Community is so important. Like I will produce much more food in my garden than me and my family will be able to eat. And that means that we can share with our neighbors.
Yes.
And some of them can grow things that I can't grow and they can share with me. So as we work together, we'll make it, right? So work on any of those skills. Home preservation, we love to freeze dry, but we also bottle. Can you preserve your food? What can you do even if it's just dehydrating with a solar dehydrator? Another skill that is really important is how to stretch meals and not waste. So one of the tips that we do a lot is we'll make a big soup from all of the vegetables and the leftovers that are in the fridge, right? We just make this big pot of soup, and that way you're not wasting. Or if there's like little bits of leftover cereal or leftover fruit, things like that, I'll make a batch of muffins and I'll put that all in the muffins, and it just gives it new life. And it helps us so that we're not wasting and we can take best advantage of the food that we do have.
Now, I'm glad, Mama, that you mentioned working together as a community. And we talk about that a lot on our channel, but seriously, that is the way that we get through all the challenges of our lives, is through our community. Get to know your neighbors, get to know your friends from around the corner or down the road. Build your community. Find out what people do and how they can benefit each other. That's the beauty of our world, is learning to work together. And because of working together, we all get through things so much better. So think about the things that we've talked about, not just the drivers, because we can't really control those, but think about the things we can do that will truly make a difference in our food security. And now for the question of the day, what are you doing this week to strengthen your food security? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about it. Let's learn from each other. Let's build together and make ourselves stronger. Thanks for being part of the solution.
I think we should go get more chocolate. I really do. I know it's expensive, but
But you're worth it.
oh, good answer, Johnny. Good answer.